Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next edition of AmiSights. I'm Ami Kassar, your host, along with my co-host, Lynn Ozer, a.k.a. SBA Queen. Today, I'm so excited to have my friend, Virginia Knudsen, the founder and chief community head of Board Community out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Virginia and I met years and years ago when we were both pretty deeply involved in Vistage, and each of us kind of went in our own interesting ways and interesting directions, but we've stayed close and stayed friends. And Virginia, welcome to AmiSights.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's behind you. It says faith over fear. Tell me what that means.
I believe you can't be in both at the same time. So whether you're spiritual or religious or not, you can't be in abundance and scarcity at the same time, and you can't be in fear and faith at the same time. You have to choose. It's that simple and that difficult. For me and for my faith, I either believe that God has my back and has a plan, or I don't. And that's to remind me when I'm in fear that shift back to faith. I also am a strong believer of the law of attraction and think that's also biblical. And if I'm in fear, then things stop. When I'm in abundance and I'm in faith, the phone rings. So
Are you a manifester?
I am. One of my partners is the best manifester I've ever met. Wow, he just makes a decision and knows it's going to happen, lets it go. And I'm telling you, every single time it happens. It's crazy.
Let us in on the manifesting. Ami, are you a manifester?
You know, I'm not a manifester, but I have a friend from EO who's like a hardcore manifester.
Why don't you tell me what it is, first of all?
Well, why did Virginia tell you what it is?
Okay.
It's the law of attraction. It's just being very clear. So if you're familiar with the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, it was kind of probably the first book on the law of attraction that I know of, that he interviewed all the most successful people in the world, spent 20 years doing it. And the only thing they had in common is they didn't know how. They didn't know where they were going to get the resources. They just knew that it was going to happen. And they didn't let any negative conversations, any scarcity conversations, what other people say, get in their way. Things just happen when we do that. When we're very clear, dream, declare, deliver, when we're really clear on what we want and where we're going, things just fall into place.
So my friend is a big Dr. Joe Dispenza. Do you follow him?
I know who it is, but I only listen to a few.
There are a lot of EO people are like, there's a whole like EO cohort at all these Dr. Joe Dispenza, and they go to these meditation retreats. And I'm like, this is a bunch of woo-hoo crap. And then slowly as I listen and I process, his friend's actually in my forum, and then suddenly pieces of it started to make sense to me about really how you manage your energy, Lynn, right?
Mhm.
So, and what's most interesting to me is like I had this mindset shift like 2-3 months ago that we're going to double in size next year, and I'm going to only focus my energy on things that help that goal, and I'm not going to worry about anything else.
Okay.
And that sounds like a bunch of woohoo in a way, but it's actually working. So am I manifesting, Virginia?
Yes. You know what? I have a client. It's really funny. We had a client that was an engineer, and he was like, there's nothing scientific about that. It doesn't happen. And after a few years, seeing the kind of things that were happening in the group and listening and kind of practicing some of it, he says, I don't know if it's scientific or it's just I'm focusing on it and that's why it's happening. But whatever it is, it's working. So I'm going to go with it. And I'm like, however you want to look at it, when we're really clear of where we're going and we're not listening to the negative self-talk or negative talk about everybody else, and we don't have to have all of the answers. We just know it's going to happen. It's just amazing how the resources, the people, the things come into play to make it happen. And it started, on Think and Grow Rich. It was, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Rockefeller. Those are the people he was talking to. And that's the only thing that they had in common, is they just weren't going to let anything get in their way. And it was going to happen. And it did.
Fascinating. So tell me the business end of what you do and how you got into it.
Okay. Well, I'm a banker by trade, 30 years. I was
all these bankers, and then it's the left, it's the right of me. I'm the only non-banker.
Yeah. And how I do what I do, I would have never thought this would be what I would be doing for a living. It was never in my purview. Banking was my career. But I'll tell you, my passion for what we do, we're a personal and professional development company. We work with CEOs, business owners, C-suite executives, helping them be great leaders, build great companies. where we're a little different from the competitors is we do all of the things of, business and sales and mergers and we can teach all of that stuff. We start from emotional intelligence first because if we don't figure out what limited beliefs we have that are really stopping us from having the things in life that we want and being the people that we want to be, all of that stuff's not going to get us where we want to go. So we feel that we work with the whole executive, personally, professionally, spiritually, health, so that they can be the leaders, parents, humans that they want to be. Where it first started with me was about 24 years ago. Well, actually, I could take it way back why I'm really passionate about this. And I'll just tell you a little bit about me personally. I got pregnant at 15, and when I did, a very important person and very loved person in our family, kind of a matriarch, had said to me that I disappointed the family, ruined my life, and I was never going to amount to anything. And I spent the next 25 years proving her wrong. And
Good for you.
there are some good things and some not so good things that I learned. It wasn't until I was almost 40 that I enrolled in a very intense emotional intelligence transformational program. I actually met one of my partners in Bohr there. We've been friends that long, and realized that although I did that, not any of the promotions, the increases, titles, it was never enough. It was always what's next. I realized that I had this conversation. It probably started before that specific thing, but that's the clearest that I remember feeling that I was never going to be enough. I realized other people around me paid a lot of prices for that. On one end, I lived the lifestyle I live today because I spent that time always what was next and trying something new. But on the other side of it, I also had what I'm sure you guys have heard of is that imposter syndrome. I was just waiting for someone to figure out that I really didn't know anything. I wasn't enough and the other shoe was going to drop. And there was a lot of stress and things that came with that. And when I was able to start working my path of emotional intelligence, I became a better mother, a better spouse, a better leader, and started living the life that I didn't know I could live. And my passion comes from wanting to help people see that, help them learn and grow and break through the barriers that some of us don't even know we have. People have limits in their minds on how successful they can be, how much money they can make, and other things that we pick up when we're children. And some of those voices in our heads, we all have them, serve us, and some of them don't. And for me, it's figuring out which ones don't so that we can make those conversations quieter and the ones that serve us a little bit louder.
It's
So
interesting. While you were going through this, and since you were 15, did you realize the impact that that statement had on you? Or is that in hindsight you realized that this is what was driving you? Or
it
you
was
all along from the time someone said to you, you've destroyed everything, you're never gonna amount to anything below. I mean, that's pretty bad, and I can imagine that it struck you that way at the time, but did you realize that that was what was propelling you forward?
didn't realize the impact. I never forgot it. I had
Yeah.
some anger and resentment around it,
Yeah, I bet.
but I did not realize that it had such an impact on who I was and what I believed about myself. It made me need to be a perfectionist. And the thing with a perfectionist is it's a really good way to prove ourselves right that we're not enough because you can't be perfect. So it's kind of a vicious cycle.
Absolutely.
You're perfect, perfect, perfect. You screw up and then you get to be right that you're not enough. And those are the things that I learned about it. That in my head, what I didn't know until after some of this work was that in my head, no matter how successful I was still a 15-year-old single mother that had ruined my life and was never going to and disappointed the family and was never going to amount to anything. And the day I realized it, kind of off script, but kind of funny, there was a song that came out in the early 2000s. It was a country song. It was called Don't Laugh at Me by Mark Willis. And I knew that song. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but one of the lines is, I'm fat, I'm tall, I'm short, I'm small. And God, aren't we all? And it says, in God's eyes, we're all the same. Don't laugh at me. And it has a couple stories, one of a homeless man. Anyway, I knew the song. I liked the song. I used to sing it all the time. And there was one line, I do not know how this happened, but I didn't know was there. And I had sang it a lot and I never heard this line. I don't know if my mind just kind of blocked it out, but I'm driving down Fremont Street here in Las Vegas. I'll never forget this. And I'm rocking out with the song. And then a line came on that said, I'm a single teenage mother trying to outrun my past. And I absolutely had to pull my car over and fall apart. First, I couldn't figure out why I hadn't, since I'd heard the song tons of times, I'd never heard that line. And second of all, it was when I realized that it didn't matter how successful I was, how much money I made. In my head, I was still that 15-year-old. And it impacted greatly how I showed up. So that is when I really started taking my emotional intelligence journey and my leadership journey seriously. I was always fascinated about leadership and great leaders. I had the opportunity to work for two leaders when I was young who were both extremely successful and had completely different philosophies. One was very clear that you show up, you do the job, or there's 10 people behind you that I could hire that could do it better. And the other one, when he came in after, was take care of your people, treat everybody with respect, and they'll do the rest. And only one of them was everybody ready to follow over a cliff for, that really was loyal to. And I learned so much from that, including how much people even resisted that type of leadership because they wanted to stick with what they knew. And it was switch. So I just was fascinated with great leaders and what they had. And what I learned was a high level of emotional intelligence and empathy and listening skills and a real care for the people below them. And what we share with our CEOs and what I know all our CEOs believe is that if you do the right thing, have fun, take care of your people, it's amazing how the profitability and the money just come.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of in a nutshell, a little bit about what we're about. And we
So what
provide
is this? What is this
C-
boar community thing, Virginia? What is it?
What is what, Ami?
It's called the
board
boar
community.
community. What is
Yeah.
this thing?
Well,
People don't know about it. So what is it?
Yeah.
our goal is to create a community of business owners and leaders and CEOs and community leaders that have a place to come and surround themselves with people that are going to be authentic and honest and hold them up and keep them accountable in our mastermind groups. We have some members in our mastermind groups that have been together with some of the same people for 20 years this year. Uh, the busiest people I know that spend a full day together. Rolling up their sleeves and working on each other's companies. We like to say it's a contribution game. Nobody comes to see what they can get. They all come to see what they can give, which is why they all walk away with so much value. It is lonely at the top. We've heard that before. There's not a lot of people we can go to get honest feedback who don't have who don't have a risk in the outcome, right? They don't have some type of tie to us. And this is a group of people that they surround themselves with, like Ronald Reagan would have called his kitchen cabinet, people that they know no matter what, they're there for them. They can trust them and they'll hold them accountable. So
So what
kind of
does
what
it
we
take? What does it take to build community?
authenticity, transparency, leading with heart. People don't have to come in to these groups with a high level of emotional intelligence or understand all of this, but they learn it and they see the benefits from it. And when they see some of the people that we've had in our organization for a long time, when they see how they show up and how they are strong leaders, they have cultures of accountability, yet they still have the love and the care and the compassion for their people. And it's people starting to see that you can have both.
So
You can have,
you believe that emotional intelligence can be learned. It's not something that's innate in people. I always thought that you either had it or you didn't.
no, the difference between IQ and EQ is IQ is cognitive. You're born with it. Early childhood experiences can affect it, but there's not really any evidence out there that you can increase it significantly. EQ, on the other hand, is learned and practiced, and you can continually increase it through meditation, reading, practice, and a real commitment to it. Because emotional intelligence is composed of self-awareness. Who am I? And why do I react the way I react? And how do my behaviors and reactions affect others? Who are you? And how do I, as a leader, coach, mentor, inspire you the way you need to? Motivation, self-motivation, being motivated by money or things, or that's all short term. But having self motivation is being motivated by your purpose, where you're going, the differences you're making. Empathy, being able to take off your glasses and put on someone else's and not necessarily agree with them, but try to see the world through their eyes. And then social skills. Daniel Goleman, one of the first pioneers of emotional intelligence, says social skills are friendliness with a purpose. And that is making sure that every interaction you have is with respect. And for me, looking at how can I provide value? I believe that everybody that comes into my space, either I have something to provide them or they have something to provide me, or both, and looking for that. So
But let me ask you a question. Do you think everyone can learn it
I do, if they want to.
if they want to?
If they want to. It is something that it's something that you've got to be committed to. And there is no there, like you never get there. There's no, mountaintop in emotional intelligence. It's always something that if you're not continually working on it and practicing it and being committed to it, you'll slip back.
Can a narcissist learn emotional intelligence?
That's a great question. I'm gonna have to chat GPT that later.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
I'm like, I would think it's a learned skill. It's not a like IQ. It's not something that's just set. So if they wanted to, they couldn't. You know what I know they can do? They can fake it.
That there's some people that it comes to more naturally. And whether that's because they grew up with mentors or leaders or teachers or someone who they modeled themselves or their behavior after, and that in the business world it just comes more naturally. I think there's others that, like you said, they have to want to. I think there's other people that resist it, that don't, they're just not, as the world would say, people. They're just like, I can think of the blocks, the ABCD personalities, and the ones that, well, you would appreciate this, Virginia, the ones that are the underwriters that want to sit and analyze and not talk to the customer and not do that. That they're the ones, is it that they're not emotionally intelligent, or they're just not people? They're not a people person. You know,
So
that,
that is this is one thing that we actually spend a lot of time teaching, especially in our leadership program. So I'm very passionate about our next generation of leaders.
Good.
75% of the workforce right now is millennial age and younger, half of them in leadership positions. I don't think anybody's getting them ready fast enough, emotional intelligence being one of them. And one of the things we teach is there's actually a difference between, like you were saying, like A style personalities, or I use DISC when I'm teaching it with
Yeah,
them, only
right.
because the simplicity and they can go out and use it. But different personality styles are going to have different skills of emotional intelligence. And then they work on the ones that they don't come naturally.
That
So
makes
a
sense.
D,
Sure.
which would kind of be an A type personality, the driver, they're direct, they're going, they're competitive. They don't have time for the emotional stuff. You know what I mean? They're moving. So yes, that takes a little bit more practice to be a better listener, to have empathy, to shift when you're dealing with a very social personality. The one you were talking about, the analyzer, they too have to work a little harder. Where on the other side of it, the I, or the influencer, the talker, me, I have to, emotional intelligence means I know my behaviors and yours, and now I've got to dial back mine to be able to relate with you directly, get to the point and not put a lot of the story in it. So
Yeah.
it really is kind of two separate things. It's knowing who you are is the emotional intelligence piece, and then practicing to be able to adapt to deal with the other personality styles, because the greatest leaders can adapt short term to deal with everybody. So that's kind of once we understand who we are and who others are, then, so I don't know if it's that it's harder, it's just really understanding these are my traits. There's no good or bad. Those are yours. And now I'm going to need to communicate. If I want to be a good leader to you, I'm going to need to learn to communicate and show up differently to be able to
I
be in
see.
relationship with you.
It doesn't think to bear to say that there are some people that it's just going to be more innate and intuitive to them.
I think when it comes to the more emotional personality styles, yeah, like the people, the supporting people, it comes a little more natural because they already have some of the empathy and touchy feely, woo woo, whatever you want to call it. They already have some of those genes in them. I think it's a little bit easier to them when you're dealing with the emotional side of things. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Virginia, you have this incredible board community. It's local to Las Vegas. Is that correct? Is any of it virtual or is it all involved in person?
We have some virtual programs. We've done some work in Southern California. We're moving into and starting our leadership programs in Reno. Actually, we're doing some work with the state and the governor's office, and we're going to be doing some moving into Reno. Our goal is to be everywhere. So we've developed some of our programs that are virtual. So it doesn't matter where people are to be able to take them. I was sharing with you my passion about the up and coming leaders. Our 12-month executive MBA style leadership program that we have for the up and coming leaders, we have over 300 graduates now here from the Las Vegas Valley, and it's a very proven program. It's getting a lot of traction. So our goal is to open that up, and we've just developed a virtual model to be able to expand that to other um,
That's
centers.
incredible.
What you do full time now is run this. Is this a separate business for
No,
you?
we do it full time. No, I have 3 executive coaches. We have multiple mastermind groups. We've got, I think, 7 different annual leadership programs in right now. We're launching another one next Friday. So it's a full-time thing. Next week, we also have one graduating next week.
So, Virginia, how did you get from starting and building a successful bank to this?
Well, so I shared with you, I met one of my partners, his name's Todd Nigro, in that emotional intelligence training. And we became friends and I was banking him. I think he saw something in me way back then because he's probably been my number one supporter next to my husband in my career since I met him. But about 4 years after we went through that training, he introduced me to Vistage and said, "Hey, I found something that was kind of like what we did, but more for business. You should check it out." So I became a founding member of a Vistage group, and I was a member for about 7.5 years while we were going through the recession because we chose to open a bank at the perfect time, September 27th of '07, about 6 months before the bottom fell out and the recession hit. And if you know anything about the recession, you know what happened in Vegas. We had, I believe, 16 community banks when the recession started and 4 that survived. We were one of them, but it was several rocky years. So I started the mastermind group. About a year after I started the mastermind group, he came to me and said, "Hey, we're starting a bank. We want you to come over." I was the first employee for that bank, and we started the bank. Then fast forward to the end of the recession, it wasn't fun anymore. It was my 30th year in banking, and I was thinking of a career. I had a couple of job offers. I had 3 of them on the table, but I wasn't really feeling them. And so I did what everybody does. I went to my Vistage chair and said, "Hey, I think I'm ready to get out of banking. The bank's good now. It made it through, but I just was ready for something different." And she said, "Why don't you do this?" And it never crossed my mind. I don't know. I would have never thought it would be something I wanted to do. But the minute she said it, I just knew that that's what I was supposed to do. And we were in a financial position that I could, do it and not, because, as you start, I don't know, you might not know, but when you start mastermind groups with Vistage or anywhere, you don't get paid until you bring in enough people to have a group. So it usually takes 6 months to a year. Um, and we were in a position that I could try it out. My husband said, "Go for it." I did. And I was about halfway through the interview process when my executive coach said, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to take an executive position with Vistage International. If you want to take over my groups." So I ended up not taking a cut, but I took over 2 of her groups. They weren't quite full yet. And I filled those and started 2 others. So I had 4 groups and I coached with Vistage for about 7 years before that same person who ended up becoming one of my clients, when I took over he was in the Vistage group. I took over the group and coached him, said we should go out and do something on our own based more on on the emotional intelligence side of things, because our groups tended to rank really high. We had made it in the top 20 of Vistage multiple times. And when I looked at it, it had a lot to do with, not on purpose, but about 85% of my clients, when I left Vistage, I had 69 clients, and about 85% of them had done the deeper EQ work. So what that translates to is our mastermind groups, they're not surfacey. It's not just business. They get down and dirty and really transparent. And sometimes it's business, and sometimes it's, you know, dealing with children on drugs, marriages, whatever is getting in the way of them being the best human beings they can be. There's no taboo discussions. And that's why they're still here after 5, 10, 15, 20 years is It's real where the real work gets done, I believe. And we knew we were doing things a little bit different. And so we wanted to take it more down the EQ space and add more things like leadership training and succession training and helping them grow emotionally intelligent companies.
It's interesting,
Fascinating.
Virginia, when we knew each other much closer than we do now. I mean, we're still friends, but was during the Vistage days when we were both involved. And then I had my own issues with Vistage, which is a story for another day. And I became involved with EO Entrepreneurs Organization. And so I've spent a lot of time in different forums. And as you know, I've worked in over 100 Vistage groups around the country and this and that. And what's striking is that in EO, it seems like we spend a lot more time talking about home and business versus, generally speaking, Vistage is predominantly business. And so that was a big shift for me at first. Like it almost felt like a little bit of group therapy, but I actually think it works.
Well, I was going to say, yet, where else? It's not therapy, but it can feel that way sometimes because where else do CEOs have to go to say, I don't have the answers, or I am scared, or there's
Correct.
not really a lot of places to do that. I make sure I really explain to new members coming on. There has been some that it wasn't for them, that they didn't feel that was the place to be talking about. They came here just for business. Sometimes I think some of those people probably was uncomfortable because they could use a little work in emotional intelligence, but that's just my opinion. A lot of people are uncomfortable, with emotion or having the
Yeah.
difficult conversations, and so they tend to avoid them. And relationships all over, personally and professionally, are a lot better when you learn some of these skills and put them into practice. And I've got a whole lot of clients that'll tell you that's the case.
I
It
love it.
didn't
Seems
necessarily
like
come
that.
with it.
I love it.
Right.
So,
I just
Right.
have to make an observation. Lynn and I, this is our week. We're taping a bunch of podcasts. And yesterday we had a guest on who was talking deep into the future of AI and
Deep.
deep. And I literally think Lynn, who I love dearly, if there was an image of her head about to explode, you could imagine it. Lynn's in her happy place with you, Virginia.
I am. And very much, this all makes sense. This works. It's like touchy-feely human interaction. It's not, going into anything else except that relationships. And I have to say that my fear yesterday, and part of why my head was going to explode, is because I can't imagine a world where the human interaction piece and the emotional intelligence isn't at the forefront of of business. Business is relationships, and it's the people that work with you, for you, and who you serve. And when that's all done by a machine, that scares me. That's why
well,
my head was exploding.
I I agree, and I can imagine it because I think on some levels we're seeing it right now with everything being so virtual and the younger generations, again, not being taught how to create relationships. First, you've got all of the tablets and communicating technology-wise. Then you
Uh-huh.
had COVID where they were not socially
Isolated.
interacting. And so now, just my opinion, not fact, I don't have stats to back it up, but you look at things like the Karens of the world. I think that is part of this whole getting out of relationship and not having the high emotional intelligence and not being able to get into relationship. The way, people are divided and reacting. They would never react in public before. They would never go up and tell you how they think you should be living your life in public when they don't even know you like they do today. It's like I think we're seeing some of that scary stuff about not focusing on the human interaction relationship, and we need to bring that back to the forefront because our existence is all about being in relationship. That's what makes us happy, that's what makes us whole, that's what, has us be successful personally and professionally. So I think that's where we come back to.
Lynn, in my opinion, Lynn, AI is never going to take over that stuff. Where AI can help is it can make us more efficient and it can.
I see how that happens now, and I appreciate that. It's just that the individual we spoke to yesterday was taking it much more to a different level than I could wrap my head around.
AI can also make you lazy. That's the risk of AI, right?
I would be afraid that it will take a little bit away, if you go back to some of Napoleon Hill's stuff, take away the critical thinking process, especially from our kids. I think in some ways, both educationally and other ways, we kind of want them to just take things at because I said so type of a thing, and not be free thinkers as to challenge things and question things and try to see different points of view. I'm afraid that it might affect that, the laziness in you'll just pull it up, have AI do it, and you're not using those critical thinking skills is what I'm nervous about. And that's where we learn and grow, is to really challenge things out there and do the research and look at things.
Teaching models are going to have to change. Like, how do you teach kids?
They
so
should
that
have
you-
changed 200 years ago, in my opinion. We're teaching the exact same way we did back then. We know that children learn differently. And one of my favorite quotes, it's Albert Einstein's, that says, if you judge a fish on how to climb a tree, he'll go through his whole life feeling stupid. And we do that to children sometimes, because if they're not, good at memory or good at the way we do it, then there must be something different. And we know that kids don't learn the same. We don't see the world the same. But yet we're still teaching the same. I'm hoping that we're changing that.
Virginia, where do our users find you and find out more about Boar Community?
Boarcommunity.com.
Is that BOR?
BOAR, like the animal. Yeah, it stands for Born of Integrity, Open Hearts, Abundance, and Results. And it started with the boar because a boar is very community oriented. They forge for the truth and dig for what they want. They're very fierce and loyal, and that's who we want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, so boarcommunity.com. You can find out all about all of our programs and everything we do. Yeah.
It's been such a treat to have you on.
Well,
It's
thank
been
you.
such a treat to watch Lynn smile and be happy through the what?
It's been so nice to meet you, Lynn.
Very
Thank you
nice to meet you. Yes.
for sitting down
Thank
and
you.
chatting with me. It was fun.
It was
And
great.
only wish you the very best of luck, and we'll see you soon. Okay. All right.
Thank you.